Ha'olam ha'metukan, the fixed of an ideal world, a fixed world. Sheiluni, they asked me, if Hashem really wants a person not to be a taker, she's stuck with but he should, it should suffice to him anything which he attains by himself. Why did he create so many people in this world and make us social animals? It would have been better for everybody to create in their own world. One person per planet. There would not be any possibility of jealousy and competition. Okay, well, it's a very weird question, because obviously part of being like Hashem and being a Gomel Chesed is to have other people to which to do Chesed. So it's a strange question. I don't understand the Havamina, but we'll see how he answers. By the way, I should answer, I should tell you the Rambam's question. Rambam has that question. The Rambam asks the same question, except slightly differently. He says, the world was created for the intellectual elite, for the great scholars and great philosophers. So his question is, why were the rest of us morons created? Why were the rest of us morons created? In other words, if Hashem's purpose in the world is the great intellect, and there are very few of them, so just create them and forget about the rest of us. So he gives two answers. One answer...
Then all the people who are the great intellects are the same IQ as everybody, so nobody's extraordinary.
That's not one of his answers. One of his answers is, he says that first of all, man is social, like it says here, that we're going to see, and since man is social, there are only one or two great intellects in a generation, or maybe even every several generations, so they'd be lonely, and people have to have companionship. So therefore, if there are only intellects and no morons, there'd be very few people, and there simply would not be enough to function with human social...
Those are new comic relief.
Comic relief. He doesn't mention that either. But
why did they make everybody make everyone geniuses?
What?
If the purpose
so the other answer will be, the other answer is that he says if everybody, even geniuses, need people to cook, clean, sew, produce food, to fix, make furniture, and so on and so forth. So if you only had the great intellectuals, so then they'd have to do all that work themselves. Good. So this way the morons do that work, and the intellectuals have time to be intellectual.
So how does the moron say Bishvili Nevra'on?
So that's a good question. According to the Rambam, it's a very good question. The Rambam I have to say that it's either poetic license, that everybody say Bishvili Nevra'on, or he'll say that it means that there is some aspect of the world which was worthwhile for me. But you're right, it's very difficult. There are a lot of chazals which become very difficult if you hold to this Rambam. But the Rambam is so driven by this notion that the world is created for the purpose of the great intellects that he has a similar question to Rav Tesler. So let's see what he answers. So obviously he's not going to say the same things, because he doesn't hold necessarily the world is created for the great intellect. So Rishonim. First, if a person not created to be social, there would be no choice whether to take or whether to give. And the taking would be removed from him, by nature. In other words, wouldn't be no free will. He wouldn't be, of course he's not going to take, if there's nobody to take from, but then how does he build his character? It's all automatic. The purpose of Hashem in creating man, is to exercise bechira. So we have to have a choice. Therefore, he's been given both powers together. And it's incumbent upon him to choose to give and to remove and to not to take. And this is his success in this world and the next. Okay, so he's giving out these choices to choose the right to make the right choice. The shayness, and this is what we said before. People are not social. They wouldn't need each other. There'd be no capacity no opportunity for giving. Obviously, there's got to be, for me to give, there's got to be a recipient. So I don't understand what the question was, but okay. Let's see the next question. Maybe it's a better one. Next page. Somebody asks you, okay, fine. You can't have a giver without a recipient. So then I'm if I give you, I'm making you a taker. Right? So how am I able? It's not right. Here I'm going to give and you're going to, and that's great for me, but makes you a taker. Yeah. So and besides that, the world can never be fully fixed. If everybody is a giver, there always has to be a 50-50 balance, otherwise it's not going to work. These are good questions. Somebody goes deep in this will see that automatically comes out, or clarifies itself automatically. And this is Hefresh Gadol, Yesh ben HaMekabel ubein HaNotel. Now, I think it's a bit of a chiddush, but he says it's obvious that there's a difference between a recipient and a taker. Somebody who receives is not the same thing as somebody who takes. And he says, just like there's a difference between a giver and somebody from whom something is taken. Can't mix the concepts. There's a person who takes, and also they take from him. He is really a taker altogether. Whatever he takes because of love of self. And he'll take and won't give if he can avoid it. That which they take from him is because he can't prevent it, right? Nobody gives taxes out of their own volition. Nobody volunteers taxes, right? There's no choice, right? So there's it's not considered HaChesed to the United States government or the people of the United States to take taxes because it's being taken from you. No big deal. Then the people who give and also receive, who Baal Koch Nesino, he's really a person who has this, is a no-say. His giving emerges from the good source of good in his heart. And for that which he will receive, his heart becomes full with payment of Hakaras Hatov. And this comes, obviously, this is something which comes back to what you learned last week, that Hakaras Hatov is really the idea which makes receiving not taking, because you give back your Hakaras Hatov. And therefore, yes, you receive it, but you acknowledge that I'm receiving something and I feel indebted to you in a way which it makes me grateful and wants me to want to give you back. And so, I forgot to mention this last week, or it was an important point to make, that the Torah is so makbid on the midah of gratitude. The Torah says that the Egyptians, they're allowed to join Am Yisrael in the third generation, because we have to be makir tov to them because we were gerim in their land. So even the Egyptians who were rotten to us, and at some point Paro wanted to kill us, though I don't think the rest of the Egyptians necessarily wanted that, we still have to be makir tov. So Hakaras Hatov is so important that even if you have a person who is totally miserable to you, but he does you a favor, or he does you kindness to you, you have an obligation of Hakaras Hatov. So it's a very demanding thing, because nobody wants to be makir tov to an Egyptian, right? Nobody wants to be, just like nobody wants to be makir tov to a German, right? So this is actually telling us that if there's some sort of hakaras hatov due, even if they were rotten to you, even if they're bad people, you still have to have hakaras hatov for the good they did. Because hakaras hatov is what prevents you from being a taker. So therefore, you have to be makatov no matter what. It's not that person is a rotten, miserable person, but your obligation, your midah is the midah of hakaras hatov, and your midah is to account. Ubir Dover now explains it. Kishneim, both of them, Baal Koch and the Sina, V'chnochim Baal Koch and the Tila, the person who gives and also the person who takes. Shneim Misham Yavur Mashiach Lehem B'Rova Pamim. Most of them pay for what they get most of the time. In other words, gifts are there, but they're not. The majority of transactions are with payment. The giver doesn't want to accept an object without paying for it. In other words, he feels I have to pay. And at least he'll pay back with hakaras hatov. Vanotel, the person who's a taker, that's what I feel like. I don't want to pay, right? They make me pay when I go into the store. I gotta pay, but you think I want to pay? The nose, the I'm a noitel. The nose saying wants to pay, at least in reciprocity, but even in the what he's buying to pay what it's worth, because he is a nose saying. He's a giver. And a giver doesn't want to take something for nothing. It's just that nobody's going to give him anything. He doesn't pay. So against his will, he's going to pay. So if that's the case, this person, who has the power of giving, if nothing else, will pay the person that does kindness with him with hakaras hatov. Doing this, he's never going to have the koach of netila. Even if he receives a lot from other people, because if he pays back, if he can't pay back, at least he has hakaras hatov. So that is ideal. That is ideal. Of course, you have to receive. Don't take. And receiving, he says, means paying for it, or at least paying for it with gratitude. So what's a bad world? A world which is what's the word? Dysfunctional. There are many people who want to take. They'll take and grab from each other. Say the such a social order who is going to increase jealousy and competition. It's going to lead to wars and murders, gazelos, thefts, veros, and bad deeds. Like we said in the first parak. In an optimal world, everybody gives and does good. And his heart will express gratitude whatever he sees from his friend. A society, a people, when it's like this, it is the fixed and happy society. There's a lot of peace and a lot of love. That's what Hashem wants. It's very depressing because we don't have societies like that. We don't have on a large scale. On a small scale, you do have it. But on a large scale, it's very difficult to find things. Like kibbutz, yeah, that's what I was thinking myself. A kibbutz would be that. Most kibbutzim have failed.
Because usually they're not religious in nature. A lot of this requires religion. Maybe not to be from. It requires
a basis in some sort of spiritual, which of course they don't have. Also, even if the first generation had, eventually peters out. So there's also Gemara. I'm not sure to bring that for a medrash, but going to Sanhedrin. So because Sham, it says Alexander Mokton Katzia. He went to the king of Katzia, which is behind the mountains of darkness. Now, just to show how those are metaphors. So Katya is language of Kates, end. And Acharei Choshech, the mountains of darkness, are between us and the Kates. So it's almost as if it's saying blatantly that he went to the world which is the world at the end of time, which is the fixed world, which is behind the mountains of darkness which we face in this world. So he's going there and looking at what a utopia looks like. This is what utopia looks like. So he said, he wanted to know how they do court cases there. The day came, to be who came to court case. One of them bought from his friend a trash dump, basically. Land which is not suitable for anything. But he found a treasure there. Hutan, he said, he only had mind to buy the land. But not the treasure. So he wants to give it back. He has to take it, the seller has to give it back. Has to take it back. More time, the seller says, no, he sold the land and everything in it. And the treasure belongs to the buyer. So the opposite of what we would assume, right, to be a din, what Alexander would assume to be a din. Alexander would assume that when the seller comes and says, I want the treasure, I didn't sell you the treasure, and the buyer says, I keep the treasure, it's in my land. No, here, the seller said, you keep the treasure because I sold you the land with everything in it, and the buyer says, no, you take it back because I didn't buy the treasure. But even though Melchizedek, so the king served them by Yishal, and he asked, they have sons and daughters. And they found Zayish Ben, Zayish Bas. This one has a son, this one has a daughter. So he said, let their kids get married, your son to your daughter, and then they'll take the treasure and they'll split the treasure. Everybody live happily ever after. Okay, so Ra Melech is Alexander Matmiah. So the king Katsu saw Alexander, he was astonished. So he asked him, didn't I judge it properly? So if this would happen by you, how would you judge it? Alexander, so Alexander says, we're going to kill both of them. Both the buyer and both the seller and the buyer. And the government would take their money, right? Estate tax. So they would take all the money. So Amram Shlomo Melchizedek, the king Katzi asked him, Hayim Hashemesh L'Rach says, the sun shine in your country? Amar Elohein says, yes. So we asked him again, another question, do you have animals in your country? Amar Elohein, you say yes. Amar Melchizedek Alexander, Lo b'zchuschem Yerei Geshem. Rain in your country does not come down to your merit, V'lo b'zchuschem Hashem L'Rachem, and nor in your merit does the sun shine for you. Again, it's a metaphor, right? The world was not created for people like you. So in your country, the only reason that there's sun and rain is for the animals. Sometimes people are saved because of the merit of their animals, not because they have their own merit. So Hashem cares about the animals too. The Medrash tells us with this wonderful story, the vast gap between givers and takers. When two givers come, each one doesn't want to take from his friend, and he comes to the king of the giving country, who he judges them, he starts food. Partner. That's what the givers do. We'll share the giving and the receiving. And the world will be perfected. But the king of the country of takers, Alexander, had a different justice system. If you give something for free, you're ruining the world, because you're undermining the whole market. So therefore, you should be put to death. Therefore, you're ruining the whole principle of competition, of jealousy, of being in this race to get ahead. We can't tolerate you. You have to kill you. But the king of the givers will mock him. He says, "Hello, animals are better for you." And if you're alive, this is an animal merit. True, animals don't know to do good. Also doesn't do bad like you do. So find the principle of the matter is, takers, they do harm to each other. Because even the person who takes makes even the person from whom he took a taker. Because he's not doing this for free. He's not going to say, I just gave you something. He's going to demand whatever payment, in whatever form, he wants to get back for this. In other words, the giving was not free, and with Ratzon, it was about Korcha. The Gemara says nobody sells things unless they have to sell them and raise money. So it's a little bit of exaggeration. Now, the point is that a person doesn't, people don't necessarily even sell things unless they feel they need something to take. So, okay, that Gemara I think is a bit extreme. But in any event, he says, givers, they complement each other. They make each other whole. Because the giver will also make the recipient a giver when he comes to recognize the good which he received. Okay, I think that's the end of that chapter. Next week, I think we're going to finish this Kuntres HaChesed, last page, and then we will go on to another topic. If you have any topics to suggest, otherwise I'll pick one.